Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello, and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast, episode 18. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I've been studying this for 3 decades now with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I will share stories, lessons, and insights about people having success in Africa. Why this podcast? Because I am sick and tired of Africa being the poorest continent in the world. We are blessed with the greatest resource, young people. And Africa will soon have the largest number of working age people in the world. And when these people achieve success, Africa's wealth will be unparalleled. Why? Because I don't know of too many Africans whose goal in life it is to die poor. You see, success in life is simply the achievement of a predetermined goal, whether that goal is owning a house and a car, or creating employment for 1,000 people, or transforming your country into a high-income country. This podcast has been created to help you to achieve it. So, if you're serious about achieving success in Africa, I want you to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video after you have watched it, please click the like button. This podcast is brought to you courtesy of BCA Leadership, the largest leadership enhancement company in Africa. If you have questions that you want me to answer after watching this video, just log on to BCA Online. The link is on the screen, and post your questions there. That is where I will respond to your questions. Today, I am going to start a 4-part series on non-profit organizations. You see, some people believe erroneously that the term entrepreneurship is limited to creating businesses that make a profit. There are organizations that are created that are set up as non-profits, and they provide a critical role in society. Some of these might be, for example, churches, mosques, YMCA, some hospitals, etc. You see, these entities are created to provide services to beneficiaries who need the service, but often are unable to afford to pay the price for the service that is equal to or higher than the cost of producing that service. In situations like these, the entity may be set up as a non-profit organization, which makes it easier for the organization to solicit funding from donors who will then subsidize the cost of producing the service so that the people who need the service can be able to access the service at a price that they can afford it. To create these kinds of organizations requires entrepreneurs, just as entrepreneurs are needed to start profitable businesses. And don't be fooled. Starting a non-profit business is not easier than starting a for-profit business. Both types of businesses require passionate founders who believe beyond boundaries and are willing to pursue something that others may not believe in. Today's episode is titled, "It Takes a Village." You see, it takes a village to raise a child. And it also takes a village to raise a business. Just as in raising a child, the parents of the child have the primary role in raising the child, but their role is not exclusive. Grandparents, aunties, uncles, teachers, community leaders all play various roles in raising that child for the child to become a productive adult citizen, useful to her or his community. The same is true for a business. For a business to grow from an embryonic fledgling idea in the founder's head to becoming a sustainable business requires more than just the founder's care, love, and sacrifice. It requires a village of willing stakeholders, advisors, mentors, coaches, benefactors, regulators, and creditors to make that business grow in a healthy and productive manner. Let me illustrate this with the story of Caren Wakoli and the Emerging Leaders Foundation, otherwise known as ELF Africa. Caren Wakoli hails from Kenya. She is the founder of ELF Africa. ELF is a non-profit organization founded in 2012 that provides practical, values-based leadership development, mentorship, and governance and livelihood training to promising young Africans so that they can drive sustainable social, economic, and political transformation in society. You see, their programs, which run from 6 months to a year, they target young people, many of whom run small civil society organizations in their communities. ELF has supported over 10,000 young women and men through life skills training and mentorship, increasing young people's civic consciousness and practical exposure to the world of work. Nearly all, like 98%, of ELF alumni are employed, they are running their initiatives, or they are involved in volunteerism around their communities. In other words, they create productive adults. In advance of Kenya's 2022 general elections, ELF began the Good Politician program to nurture a cadre of principled young politicians who bring values-based leadership, moral courage, and imagination into their pursuit of making democracy work in Kenya. See, the founder of ELF, that's Caren Wakoli, has a clear vision for the organization. She states that ELF intends to reach 10 million youth from different parts of Africa and to grow a solid Pan-African network. How did Caren become the founder of a successful nonprofit that today boasts a large alumni and has successfully raised money from both private and institutional donors? You see, Caren was raised in a very modest household. She's the eldest child, and her father worked as a court clerk and earned a very modest income that was insufficient to pay for her university fees. She worked hard to get to university and benefited from donations from some of her own professors to pay her tuition at college. Her intellect, emotional intelligence, and passion for service was evident to her fellow students, and she was elected as the vice chair of the Student Union. She was the first woman to ever hold that position. After graduation, she found a job in the media and started to support her family and younger siblings' education. Her exposure to the world through the media made her ask herself tough questions like, why is there so much disparity in economic circumstances? Why are some people so poor and some people so rich? These questions led her to recognize the importance of leadership and the linkage that the quality of leadership that people have and demonstrate determines the life that they live. When you have leaders who have integrity, passion, selflessness, the people that they lead will enjoy a good life. On the contrary, when there are bad leaders, those people will suffer. While working in the media, she found an NGO working with young people in the slums, trying to put hope into them. She would work Monday to Friday in the media house, and then on Saturday, she would do the slum work with young people. And she realized that she actually preferred the Saturday work to the Monday to Friday work. The more exposure she got in the media, the more she realized that young people are simply underrepresented in places where big decisions are made that affect them, and they don't have the means to influence those decisions. She decided that she wanted to change this. The idea of ELF was born. Unfortunately for her, Caren did not have the money to birth that idea. When she asked the lawyer to help her register the organization, she was charged 75,000 Kenya shillings, and she simply did not have the money. She made the case to the lawyer that this was a faith-driven organization, and the lawyer eventually agreed to do it for just 5,000 Kenya shillings. So ELF got registered. It took a year for ELF to get its certificate. After that, for 6 months after getting this certificate, nothing had happened. Caren had no donors, no team, etc. She was waiting for things to happen, and they were not happening. For those who've watched other previous episodes, sounds familiar? So she decided she needed to make things happen. She went back to the University of Nairobi and met a group of young girls who wanted to celebrate International Women's Day and volunteered to be their guest speaker. After the event, the young ladies asked if they could be Karen's mentees, and she agreed and started mentoring them. She would meet with them under trees and have water and coffee because she had no money. And they kept on meeting, and the number of people kept growing. People started to notice, and more mature people started to approach Caren to help her and the organization. This help came in the form of advisors, and eventually Caren set up a board of 7 people for the organization. The board helped her to focus the organization and give the organization credibility that it badly needed, which was then leveraged to bring donors on board to support the work. You see, Caren now realizes how important the board has been to the development of the organization. Today, she boldly states that a proper organization cannot function without a board, because the board provides stability, credibility, emotional support, advice, networks, accountability, risk management, and fundraising. What can we learn from Karen's journey? Well, we can learn that it takes a village, not just to raise a child, but to raise a business. Without the help of people like her university professors who supported her education, the lawyer who helped set up her organization at a huge discount, and the board members past and present, ELF may not have existed today, and Caren may still be working in the media, achieving far less impact in Africa than she and her team are achieving today. We can learn that founders need to get out there and make things happen. That simply registering a business, putting up a website or a signboard does not bring customers or funders or beneficiaries to you. We can learn that we must be willing to provide help to those who need it and to ask for help from those who we need it from in equal measure. Caren has not been afraid to ask for help, and she has been generous in giving help. Those qualities, in addition to the qualities of courage, character, self-discipline, integrity, humility, vision, and passion, are what has made Caren Wakoli the successful entrepreneur and founder of ELF Africa that she is today. Kenya is already a better country because of her work. And based on the Pan-African vision of ELF, Africa will be a better place because of her work. This brings us to the end of episode 18. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to reading your comments and your feedback about this podcast. Next week, I will share with you another important key to achieving success in Africa as an entrepreneur. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Tell your friends about it. Together, we can transform our beloved continent. See you next week.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.